All right, KISS Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a KISS-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 220 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'll be your guide on this highway of madness. Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board. No, I'm just kidding. Today's just a continuation of the last episode where we recap some of our thoughts about the year 2018. In this segment, I'm joined by what the podcast is supposed to be about. Members of the board, viewers of the show, friends, to recount their memories. Yesterday we did our regular cast of characters who recapped our thoughts at the time. And today we're joined by Bill, Brad, Nils, and of course one of our additional participants on the FAQ podcast on a regular basis, Alex, who go through there. So join me while we dig into those clips. And again, thank you all for your support this year. Thank you for watching this episode, the last one, and we look forward to entertaining you or annoying you in 2019. Happy New Year. Right. Alex, it's good to see you again. It seems like we don't get together enough on the podcast enough this year with schedules and whatnot. So thank you very much for taking the time just to have a quick conversation and talk about some of the things that stand out in your mind for 2018. So let's jump straight into your top kisses of 2018. They don't have to be in any order. What are the standout things that have taken place that have really resonated with you?
Number one, give or take what's kind of transpired with the year with this fella. I've got a great picture. But Mr. Vinnie Vincent's return, give or take what's happened with your thoughts and feelings, those of other podcasts, you feel burned or anything, just him coming out of the woods and in a sense, almost maybe giving some closure for many that sit there and go, okay, he's alive. Seems pretty well. I think that's the number one right there. Something I didn't expect to happen. I was afraid it was going to be almost like a Sid Barrett situation.
Yeah, the international man of mystery. No one was too sure. There were some awkward little glimpses into Vinny's life through unfortunate circumstances. And now we've seen him. We know that he's vertical. He has a pulse. He's generally healthy. Not without a little bit of drama, but there you go. He made a return to the stage successfully this year. And I think as a fan, especially you and I weren't fans in the 1983 when he was a current member of KISS. So that's something that we've not gotten to experience or actually see. Vinny active in the KISS community. Wonderful.
Yeah, very much so. As a second one that I think has been great has been Spaceman, Ace Frehley's latest album. I showed sentiments on the message board. Give or take, there's going to be tracks that I prefer over other ones, but he really gave a solid effort this year on an album. Considering, and I like songs off Anomaly and Space Invader, but there was the key words. I like your phrase. I like songs. It wasn't a full album that kind of captured me and stuff, and I feel Ace really kind of hit out of the park. I use the phrase quality over quantity. And I hope he can keep that same formula up.
I want to put you on the spot right now and make sure my finger's in the camera. What's your favorite song on the album?
I like Quantum Flux, but I really like Ace's instrumentals that he's done. I think it was somebody on the episode mentioned about it'd be cool to see Ace do an all instrumental album, and I think it would be fun. But I think like Quantum Flux, he captured that spacey feel that you get in Fractured Mirror. And that, of course, goes to my next big kiss, was Ace performing his 1978 solo album. No idea why it took him so long to jump on board. I think they're saying that at the event yesterday that he hopes to do a live CD/DVD performance of the album, and I think that's a great idea. I also hope he'll maybe throw in some added goodies, maybe throw in Dark Light or Save Your Love, whether it's he does the album and does an encore with those songs, or if he mixes it into it. And then another thought that came to my mind, I think it would be really cool, even if it was maybe just a bonus of them rehearsing and fooling around. But as if maybe Ace played a little bit of All for Nothing, that outtake from his '78 solo album, just as like a giggles like thing and stuff. Hey, you guys probably haven't heard this one, and this was supposed to be on the album, but I took it off.
Better yet, finish the song and perform it.
That too.
And there's your encore. Hey Curly, this song would have been on or was written for, and here it is, first time. And wow, that's great.
Exactly, and it would be I think it would be a big selling point for that. And then the other big Kiss is Kiss announcing the end of the road tour. Taking advantage now before things go down. It would have really stunk if there wouldn't have been an opportunity to have an end of the road tour. And so I think that they're announcing it and getting out there is exciting, and I hope they're able to put on the great show. And that, I'll leave that as open to whatever they need to do to make that a great show, and so forth, whether it's Sonic Lube or anything like that.
Gonna have to trademark that phrase, I think.
I agree. And the last one I have is Gene Simmons Vault. Go to genesimmonsvault.com if you want to order one.
Except you can, actually. Nice try, though.
I guess so. Maybe they'll do something on the tour, but just so the leftover remaining ones. But I didn't get a vault. I've heard some of the stuff. Say that carefully, but what a great package that he put together and stuff. And give or take, I had my opinions on a bit of the price point, especially with the never being really a vault experience close by to where I am in Idaho, or even the Salt Lake, Utah area, and so
or that basically time zone.
Yeah, time zone. And so that was a bit disappointing on that. And so I really wish they would have had a bit of a package there. I know with the last Vault, the Vegas one that was canceled, and for appropriate reasons too. And of course, my condolences to Gene and his family and so forth. But I know they did like a partial refund for those people. Hey, we're going to give you some money back. From what I've heard, and of course they got their vaults for those that win, and they got a partial refund. So I kind of wish there'd been a bit more of a price point. Hey, you're not coming to the vault experience, we'll give you a discounted price, because I think I probably could have worked something around that. It was a little more difficult to go to the wife and say, hey babe, I want to spend $2,000 on a box set of CDs and 5 minutes with Gene. Though I think it's worth it, for her, not so much.
Yeah, especially, the PayPal plan was, I thought, a great thing that actually let people do installments, because, it's a lot of money to try and come up with, straight out of the box. What happened in Vegas, is I think they did refund everyone, but a few people contacted them and said, hey, I still want the vault. And even though I realize it's not going to be signed or, customized, and I'm not going to have the meet and greet. So I don't know what was done, whether things were worked out, because I know some people were posting that they had gotten their vaults. And that, I think, maybe, I hope, opens up the possibility for genesimmonsvault.com offering a non-meet and greet version of the vault that you just get basically by mail order. Or maybe they can just have Gene go in and sign all of them on top and not have them customized or dedicated in any way, or even unsigned, whatever, so that people can participate in it. Certainly the cancellation of Vegas at a, such late notice, it was just beyond anything that they could have envisaged or wanted. I mean, I guarantee you this, Gene would much rather have not had to cancel Vegas, simply because what canceling Vegas meant to him as a person, and no one wants family issues whatsoever. So very sad circumstances, and who knows what 2019 may bring for that. Exactly.
I am hoping that could be the Kiss vault, but that's one of my hopes for 2019.
Let's do baby steps and have the Ace Frehley vault.
That's true. And I think somebody at one of those interviews kind of threw the idea towards him. So hopefully, maybe he'll jump on board with that.
Because you already have the Paul Stanley vault, which is basically Kissteria, every Kiss album. Because Paul didn't waste a lot of effort on other songs. Let's talk about. Let's just go to KISS-branded lumps of coal. Is there anything for you that you'd consider that lump of coal in your stocking this year that just did not work for you on a personal level, or something that didn't quite hit the mark that you thought it would?
You know, and I don't go on the cruise, so I totally realize my whole opinion is invalidated in a sense. Um, but I really wish, when looking back on anything, they could have maybe have had Ace jump on board when he did shock me. I was great that they did have Ace do the unplugged segment and everything like that, and of course the Kiss running through the potentially the end of the road tour set totally makes 100% complete sense. I know. I guess I'm a huge. It's like photos. I'm a huge guy of let's capture the moment. Let's get what could be the picture moment thing. I mean, I've said it before. One of the big things that's disappointed me with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, besides obviously the performance, was there wasn't a photo of all seven guys together. Like I think, like how cool would that have been to have had a photo like that? And I think it's Andy Moyen. I think he's one of the guys. If he gets a picture, he'll only take a picture that he could get signed by all the people. Like I see someone like him, and other ones would have been like, I got to get all seven signatures on this photo. And so a little bit, I just sometimes go like, oh man, like did we miss the moment and stuff? And so I wish there would have been a little bit more like that. And of course, interested to see what 2019 brings with the end of the road with previous members of the band.
Yeah, and I'm like that as well. I mean, I will, as much as I love Asylum, and I would love to have a signed Asylum cover over my desk because what the album means to me. Because I can't have Eric Carr sign it, I will never ask Gene or Paul or Bruce to sign a copy of Asylum for me because it will always be complete. And I will never buy one because I didn't obtain the autographs myself. So, missing out on that opportunity to have all the living members of the band kind of together at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is one of those things. But let's not dwell on the negative. Let's end this little segment, positively. What, as a KISS fan, are you looking forward to in 2019? What's the one thing that you hope for above all other things when it comes to this band that we love?
More music releases, whether it's more vinyl. I think they've hit it out of the park with the Rock and Roll Over colored vinyl. That is a beautiful, the way the color, I know there's been golden and whatnot, but I feel like they really captured the color of the yellow border around Rock and Roll Over on that cover. And I think there's potential for them. So, more music releases, whether it's vinyl, I'd love to say more deluxe editions. And I'd love to even just see maybe a 45 single for the end of the road tour. I think, it's been kind of discussed like, oh, there's really no music behind it. And, I was just thinking the other day, I was like, oh man, like it'd be cool if they maybe did Are You Ready? Maybe tweaked it up, get some Paul Stanley little isms in the song and stuff like he does on the song Standoff Sonic Boom. And then, maybe throw on as a B-side, either they go re-record something or they just throw on a demo. I always thought it was really cool, the interpretation or the rendition of Mistake that Paul did on the two little solo performances he did on the two previous KISS cruises when he did his little acoustic shows, because it was a little bit different than the demo version that has circulated for a handful of years now. And I always thought like, oh man, that'd be cool if they could just go in and kind of finish the song off and stuff. And, they don't necessarily have to go write a new song, but maybe just complete something that they've got kind of lying around. I always think of like when the Beatles did the anthology, they did the Free as a Bird. And I think the other one was
Real
Real
Love.
And, just two songs, and I think they could do something like that, KISS, and have fun. Make it a 45 with a digital download. You got to buy the 45 vinyl and digital download. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for 2019 is just some more music releases.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you for being a part of the KissFAQ podcast this past year. My hope is, of course, that we'll see you on some episodes in 2019. So, enjoy your holiday season. Enjoy your new year. And hopefully, we will have you on an episode as soon as we can and as soon as you're able in 2019 as life permits.
Hopefully so. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Hey, so I'm joined by Bill. I got to meet you earlier this year, which was really cool. So, first, tell us a little bit about yourself as a KISS fan.
Well, I've been a KISS fan since about 77, 78. Uh, got introduced to the great Rock and Roll Over album, of course, handed down by a cool uncle. Actually, it was a best friend's cool uncle who handed it down to us, and we, just that lit the fire. What a better place to start.
No better place whatsoever, and one of my all-time favorite KISS albums to this day. So let's talk a little bit about 2018. What are some of your top kisses from the year? And they don't have to be in any particular order, just some of the things in your personal history that stand out as we look back at the year.
Well, that's the thing is I was kind of stewing over this, and you started off with the top 11, and I couldn't get anywhere near 11. I kept thinking, well, I was really only active with a lot of stuff as far as doing things the second half of the year. But for starters, KISS just being active in the public eye, and we were getting news on almost a daily basis as soon as the year turned over. And I thought that was pretty awesome. It really, probably if you look back at the week by week, if there was a week without KISS news, I couldn't think of it.
And that's the part that's so surprising. This band is 45 years old, and their calendar has been full throughout 2018. The fans have been talking about something every day of the year. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. That's like actually Mitch LaFons posted today that I think it was the Struts that were supposed to be the hottest thing in 2002. And all the washed up bands like KISS and the Eagles and White Snake and all of that, 16 years later, they're still touring. And we're the Struts, pretty much. I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do. But, just them being active and I can go to Google, and the first thing I see on my Google when I bring it up is a KISS news story. It's like, how amazing is that? After, especially when nobody wanted around when they did. For those of us who stuck through them with thick and thin and all that. Oh, I need a little beverage here. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cheers.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so being in the public eye, that was the great thing of all of it. And I did kind of rank mine from, I'm going from like highest, from like 5 down to 1. But the number 4 thing would definitely be the announcement of the final tour. It kind of put everything in focus. It's like, you've been doing this for 40 years. This is going to be your big hurrah. And fortunately, things in my personal life have aligned it to where, I've got tickets. This is going to happen. It's not going to be a guessing game up till the end. I remember the first time I saw Ace Frehley, I was at work, and my boss said, "Hey, we're slow tonight. You want to take the night off?" I clocked out from work and drove to Hare Arena and saw Ace Frehley open for Alice Cooper. I mean, it was that fast of a decision. So I've actually got it. It's like, okay, I know what I'm doing on March 16th. And, it's kind of cool to really have that plan that far ahead. But, the final tour. And, I really hope it can last 3 years. I hope it can last, especially into the summer, because they're supposed to come back to Cincinnati, too, in the summer. And that sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome. I'll get to see them indoors and out. So that'll be pretty decent.
How does that make you feel? I mean, you've been a fan for a long time, and this really is it. It's not like, the farewell tour 18 years ago. This really, because of their age, because of our ages as well, for that matter. How do you feel about that? That knowing that you might go to that show and it might be the very last time, not knowing if they're going to come back around on a second run through your area.
It's an interesting thing because the perspective has changed from maybe a year ago. Because a year ago, it'd be like saying goodbye to an old friend, watching them get on the plane and fly away. But the way things have been in the past year or so with the involvement with all the great KISS podcasts and definitely the FAQ included, KISS is going to live on with all of us. So really, they may stop coming to the town, but they're not going away. Every time I can go and contact anybody, and even if Facebook goes away, it'd be like, you can shoot a message to you or to Matt Porter or to Ken Mills or something like that, and you can talk KISS about something like, hey, remember when, that happened and all that. So the whole perspective of it's really changed. And I think that's, the awesome thing about it, because you're not losing a friend. It's just a little change in the order. You have times when your friends don't come by quite as often, but we'll still be able to keep in touch with each other and, still support them. And that's where it's going to be great. So I don't think it'll really be that much of a difference.
Great perspective. Thank you. What's your next item?
Album releases. From the Ace Rockologist being released early in the year to the solo album box set at the end of the summer. And I put the BK3 vinyl on here because I'll put it out now. If I don't have that thing ordered by the end of the week, somebody better come hunt me down, because it's been burning a hole in my pocket. It's like, oh, I got Christmas shopping I need to do. But it's like, I think BK3 is going to happen this week. So, but just the thing about it is, even though it's not necessarily brand new music, it's still just saying, hey, and it's actually replacing stuff that I didn't take such great care of back in the day. So, especially with the solo albums, I pulled my old solo albums out and I'm like, oh my God, these are atrocious. I should beat myself for how I treated them. But, having brand new copies of them on colored vinyl and the posters and all of that stuff. And it's just been like, so it's been really exciting to get the new albums.
And you just mentioning them all in order, I mean, the amount of vinyl actually that has been released, Rockologist knocked it out of the park with their special signed and verified issues. Then, of course, we had, I've lost count of how many versions of Spaceman. The solo box, the new Bruce Kulick reissue again of BK3. It's absolutely amazing. It's fantastic as a collector, and really count our blessings with what we do receive rather than what we may have hoped for that didn't come through. And of course, Kiss has put out a couple of colored vinyl releases as well. With the new Rock and Roll Over. And was Destroyer red vinyl this year or last year?
Yeah, that was this year. I got that one, and for some reason I've been holding off on Rock and Roll Over, because I just got Rock and Roll Over on black vinyl earlier this year, and it's kind of like, well, do I really need to get it? It's burning a hole in my pocket too. So
it's beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous what they did with that orange. I'm absolutely sorry to take over, but I'm absolutely shocked by how good it does look. I do like the way it looks, and I like the translucent vinyl too, because I did have a little mishap with Sound of Vinyl on the Destroyer issue, so I was kind of worried about that, and I really hate the way they package things and send them to you. And I've seen a couple horror stories already pop up, and it's kind of like, oh man, I was glad that the solo box came in good shape. But yeah, if I can make it past the first of the year, Rock and Roll Over will probably happen, and then I'm going to be all the way into that colored vinyl rabbit hole. It's like, well, I'm going to have to get the rest of them now. So, yep, and you know that there'll be more coming. All right, let's move on to your next positive Kiss from 2018.
Okay, this is I'm going to make you blush a little bit, because like I said, I was kind of inactive at the beginning of the year, basically due to financial reasons and stuff like that. But I had to pay for my house in September. So those first 6-8 months, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to spend money for this or that or anything like that. But I got to live vicariously through, friends on the internet, and especially the FAQ contributions, like you and Lonnie, your involvement with the Vault experiences, and the Atlanta and the Indie Kiss Expo. I mean, I was actually sitting the weekend of the Indie Expo with just enough money to get over there, just enough money to pay my way in, and just enough money to pay my way back. And it's kind of like, well, what's kind of the point of doing that, when you can't go, really immerse yourself in the experience. So I held off on it, and I don't regret it too much, but I got to see all the cool stuff that happened anyway, because of all the people that was there providing information to us. And a lot of the people, I just got done watching the Ace show from the Jersey Expo. And for starters, amazing show. I think they did absolutely well on it. And then you had these guys coming in after the video had already posted, going, well, it kind of sounds like crap, and why don't you have chairs and stuff like that? And I'm like, are you serious? You're sitting here watching Ace Frehley perform this album, probably, well, most of it for the first time, and as best as he's probably played all year. And you guys are complaining about this stuff? Come on, seriously. But back to the FAQ contributions. When you guys did the vault stuff, the vault, when it started happening, it was still in that window of I got to really pin this money down and all that stuff. But where you did the shows in the LA show, and then Lonnie actually gave you that behind the scenes kind of thing going on in St. Louis. That was awesome. And I really appreciate him doing that. And then you're following up with the KISS cruise. That stuff was just fabulous, just getting that stuff flowing in. And I really should probably, outside of the FAQ, Mike Brunn.
Oh my God! I was gonna
awesome
mention
videos.
his name. I mean, if I want to come up with a fan who's an MVP for the year, Mike Brunn is going to be near the top of that list, if not taking the award for what he shared with us video wise. Amazing, huh?
Yeah, definitely top notch. He could probably put out a 10 DVD set right now of everything he's recorded. So, but that was been pretty awesome. But and then on outside of that, just other things with other KISS related podcasts. I got to give it up to the KISS Room and Pod KISS, because they've been fully supportive. And but then also on the news update thing, where the discussions that really get had, like you guys were the first. Like if something happened with the one who shall not be named, I'm going to leave him at that, because if something came up with Q is kicking up an episode, we got to do something right now. It didn't matter who showed up for it or whatever. You guys were getting some discussion out there, and it wasn't just a bunch of keyboard warriors throwing out whatever they wanted to. There was actual real discussion going on about all those kind of events, and that was pretty awesome. So that was my number 2.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. What I loved about this year with the podcast coverage is that Joe and the Podcast Rock City guys, Matt at the KISS Room podcast, between so many of these podcasts, the amount of coverage of different events from different perspectives allowed all of us as fans to enjoy everything in different ways. So even though I may have done a show on a topic, to be able to tune into the KISS Room and then hear other people calling in or talking about different subjects, it's just fantastic as consumers. Aegis of Rock as well did a lot of KISS coverage. So it's been a great year for listening to shows.
Yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to Ages of Rock, and especially Podcast Rock City, because that's something I can lead into my number 1 with. Is I've had these minor conversations online with everybody, and leading into my number 1 was Rockin' Pod 2, getting to go over there and meet you and Ken and Matt Porter. And the first person that said anything to me is I walk in, and Jody Havnot turned around and goes, Laylam's here, and he runs up and gives me a hug, and I'm like, I've never seen this dude in my life, and he's hugging me, and this is awesome. But Rockin' Pod was definitely the number 1 thing. And even though it wasn't so KISS centric, it was definitely a culmination of all that good stuff that had been going on through the year. And when I was leaving Nashville, I was ready to turn around and come back and do it all over again. And I hope to get to do that this year, schedule wise.
I hope to be invited back to Rockin' Pod, because as it may not have been KISS centric, but just to be sitting there interviewing the guys from Stars while the guys from Angel were right behind me. I mean, as a fan of music and the 70s, I mean, it was absolutely sick. And I met you there, obviously, and so many other people. Again, what I find as I get older, and hopefully wiser, is that I prefer old school. That's face to face, just sitting around. Offline is online is convenient for us to be able to get together. But once we meet in person and get together, the gathering of all these different podcasts is just fantastic. So, Chris Sinzak and the Decibel Geek guys,
Yeah, super shout out to Chris, because that was absolutely awesome. I got hooked up with Decibel Geek shortly after Rockin' Pod 1. So I didn't really kind of know what was going on, but then it was just kind of like, oh, this is intense, and I want to be at the next one. And I'm so glad I went, and I'm ready to go again. So that was pretty fab.
There you go, Chris. You've got a challenge. All right. So in 2018, I want to keep this positive, but I do have to ask you, did you receive a lump of KISS-branded Koal this year? And if so, what was it that didn't quite meet your expectations or hit the mark?
I think Kiss related would be the one who shall not be named. That's pretty much it, because I got kind of led on in Atlanta. I was watching all those Atlanta videos, and I'm an emotional guy. I'm not afraid of hiding my emotions or anything like that. But I'm sitting there watching these videos, and I'm kind of going, wow, I really feel for this guy, and he kind of did all this stuff, and this tough time he's been through. And then, not 5 or 6 months later, it was like the same old thing all over again. And that was the biggest lump of coal. As far as everything else, it's been absolutely diamonds all the way across the board. Because, but then again, I didn't have my expectations set that high. I didn't put out a lot of money on some of the things. And I did want to go to Atlanta, but it didn't work out. And I'm I probably would have got sucked in a little deeper had I went to Atlanta. So I'm kind of glad I didn't. But outside of that, everything else has just been, I recognize, people find lumps of coals in the tracks and the ages of the things, and who Gene makes an off-color comment to or anything like that. I usually end up laughing at most of the stuff that happens before I get too terribly offended by it. But they're not spring chickens anymore, so I can understand that, to where they're things have to change. I can't run a 6-second 40-yard dash anymore. I probably couldn't run one when I was 18, but that you can't do things when you get that far up in age, and I'm just glad they're around. When you look at everything else, it's like some of the people that we lost outside of KISS, like Tom Petty and Prince and all of those, and these guys came up after KISS, and KISS has persevered. The 4 original guys are still alive. That's kind of amazing, because I think the only other band that's actually been able to do that, like maybe outside of ZZ Top, is Journey. I believe that all the guys from Journey are still living, but you have these other ones. It's like, oh well, this one passed away in 2014, or this one passed away in 2012, or whatever, and probably most of KISS should have been dead by now, but they've managed to persevere, and I'm just glad they're here.
And that's a perfect reminder of, my final question for you is, let's end positively. What are you looking forward to in 2019?
I don't set my expectations too high, because I know that results in a lessened amount of disappointment, but I'll be happy with whatever they throw at me. If I'm taking my 2 oldest kids to Columbus on March 16th, and I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing, taking the wife and those 2 kids. And that will be, most of my kids have actually seen KISS. The youngest one hasn't, but he may end up in Cincinnati with me this summer. So I just I'll take whatever they give me, and I'll be a aware buyer. If I don't want to buy it, I won't. But I'm happy with what they got to offer. So pretty much leave it at that.
That's perfect. And on that note, Bill, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us your thoughts on this year, your hopes for next, and a little bit about yourself. I know certainly for myself and the podcasters that I commune with, we very much appreciate people like you who listen to our shows, who offer comments, and just enjoy it for what it is. We very much appreciate that. So thank you, Bill, for joining me for this recap for 2018. It's very much appreciated, and I hope that 2019 is a good year for you.
Oh, I hope it's the same for you, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday and whatever they tend to celebrate. And we'll see you in 2019 to kick it all off again.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Julian.
Hey, I'm joined by Brad to talk a little bit about his top kisses of 2018, his lumps of coal, if any. Brad, just tell us a little bit about yourself as a KISS fan.
So I became a KISS fan. I don't know the date exactly, but probably 1978. I was 6 years old. Friends in the neighborhood were listening to them, older kids, and eventually my babysitter from across the street had the Destroyer 8-track, and she asked me if I wanted to buy it. So I went up to my dad and said, "Hey, do you have $5 I can borrow?" And so that was my first Kiss Destroyer on 8-track from my babysitter. So.
Great story. I mean, that's how so many people got into the band, because of older siblings, younger siblings, babysitters seem to figure a lot in people's stories. So 2018, how has that been for you as a KISS fan, and what are some of your top Kisses from this past year that, as you look back on it?
So, I mean, this year has been amazing for me, and I feel grateful for it. I mean, this has been the busiest KISS year I've had since 96, 97, probably, in doing KISS stuff. So everything from the Gene Simmons Vault, Detroit, January 20th, through the Indianapolis KISS Expo, going to the Rockin' Con in London, Ontario to meet Peter Criss. So I met 3 of the 4 originals all in 1 year, which was just amazing for me.
Yeah, that's one of the most amazing things, is how all of the guys in the band have been all around this year. Obviously, you know, I did the LA one, and Ace was there, and Bruce and Eric, and then Gene, and then a couple of weeks later, if my timeline's right, then it was Vinny. So, you know, there was a lot of stuff going on this year with expos. Great to see Peter getting a lot of love and respect to the places that he was going. Let me ask you about the Vault, though. How is that as a gift that's, as you look back on that, are you still enjoying it music-wise, or are you still digesting it like I am?
I am, and I will say this. Your interview with Keith Valcor put me over the edge to buy it. So that was fantastic. And then I lived through the LA experience with you and Sonny Pooney giving updates, and then 2 short weeks later was my experience. But I've noticed a lot of people have been waiting are slowly going through the music. I couldn't wait for the music, so I basically was listening to a disc every day right after the experience, and then I kind of got away from it and came back, and I keep coming back to a disc here and there, and I love it. I know some people are, maybe not demo people, or not as interested in pieces of songs and that type of thing, but that really intrigued me, and that was the main reason that I got the Vault. I mean, the experience was great, but to have something that you could take home with you, is what sold me.
Yeah, I'm still trying to digest all that stuff. I mean, it's like getting 11 albums in one shot. It's just
it's a lot.
It causes indigestion. But thank you for the kind words about the interview with Keith.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun, and I do apologize for putting you over the edge into buying a Vault experience. While I want to keep these celebrations generally positive, did you receive a lump of KISS-branded Koal during the year? Was there anything that didn't quite meet your expectations? Anything that you wish had just been slightly different or better, or just something that didn't quite hit the mark?
And I would, a couple of things. I mean, the Vinny Vincent stuff this year has been disappointing. I'm not as huge of a fan of his as some people, but he's got history, and I love the albums and his songwriting and all of that. I'm disappointed, I guess, or frustrated with how he's kind of handled some of that stuff. I wish him all the luck, as you have, I think, on all of the podcasts. I hope that he can get things figured out and move forward. So that would probably be the one disappointment this year, or lump of coal.
Then let's look forward to 2019. What would you say is the one thing you are most looking forward to next year?
Oh goodness! Well, I'm going, as of right now, I'm going to 3 shows. So I'm taking my wife and my two kids to the Grand Rapids show, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then I'm going with a friend to the Detroit, Michigan show about a week later. And then this summer, when they announced that second leg, driving down to Indianapolis, and actually I'm going to hook up with the Rock of Ages guys. They're going. At least Dennis and Bill are going. So going to hook up with them. So it's really those shows, and I'm treating this as a celebration. I went to 4 or 5 shows on the farewell tour 19 years ago, and that was a little emotional for me. I was 19, 20 years younger, thinking that was going to be the last time. But I'm treating this a lot differently, and more as a celebration of the 40 plus years that I've been a fan. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
The Ages of Rock guys are, of course, a blast.
Oh, yeah.
They are good people. I've been fortunate to see them, 3 times this year? A lot of times this year. I think I saw them in Atlanta, saw them in Indy, of course, and then at the Rock and Pod Expo in August. So the Ages of Rock guys, they're awesome. But you know what? Did you ever? Will this be your children's first KISS concert?
It is.
And are you passing it on to the next generation in a way, or are you just saying you have to see this because you're my kid?
No, they want it. They want to go because they know that this is it. My wife's been to 7 shows with me. She went to Tiger Stadium with me back in '96. It was funny. We had met a few years before that, and I wanted to get her to a KISS concert, and she said only if they get back together and put the makeup back on. And sure enough, that happens, and we went there. But yeah, my kids want to go, and I'm excited to. I feel like I'm going to watch them more than the band during that concert, just to see their reactions to everything. But really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Side eye and seeing how they respond to that show that's been such a part of your life for so long. Well, Brad, Thank you so much for joining the KissFAQ podcast for our look back at 2018. Here's to 2019, and may all your KISS experiences meet your great expectations.
Absolutely. Cheers to you, Julian. Thanks again. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Brad. Hey, I'm back with another special guest to recap 2018. And joining me is, of course, Nils from
Norway.
I always get it wrong, so I just didn't want to even do that again. If you remember that post on the during the cruise, when I did list your wrong country. So there we go. Why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself as a KISS fan and what you're doing, and where you come from as a fan.
I became a fan in 1978, and I've done a lot of fan-related projects here in Scandinavia since around 2004. I ran the website for Kiss Army Norway for a while, and I still have the domain right now, but it's quite dead right now. And I've had a site called KissFanzine.com for a while. That's also quite dead right now. What I used to do right now is we have a podcast called Destroyer Live. And right now we're just on YouTube. So it's a video podcast. We're thinking about putting audio files out also. But
and that's primarily in Norwegian or Scandinavian with the occasional episode in English.
Yeah, we probably have maybe about 10 episodes in English. So we have had some with Roger Bernard, who has the
KISS books, the legendary
Black Books.
Yes, and that is not hyperbole. That is not an exaggeration. They're
amazing.
Absolutely amazing. So why don't we get into 2018 and what are some of your top kisses of 2018? You don't have to go in any order if you don't want, and tell us why. Tell us what and why.
Yeah, I've had I put down 10 things here. It's on number 10. I have the solo box.
Yep.
I really love that one. It's like the other issues with when they just had different colors on the vinyl and stuff. They're cool, but it's like just that they actually put a box around the four releases, and that it makes a little bit like the Japanese box set from '78. So it's like that's really cool.
It was a very nice. It was a very nice play on that original concept of putting it in a box. What I was surprised with is how good the colors looked. Obviously, there was, I think it was Ecuador released them on colored vinyl back in 1978. But these just look absolutely fantastic. They exceeded my expectations. So glad someone else has that on their list as well.
And I actually love the small lithos they put in the box also. They could have been a little better color-wise, because if you've seen the originals, there are original pictures taken of the artworks, and they're just amazing. But on 9, I have Spaceman. For me, it's the best Ace record since the '78 record.
Wow!
So I just
wow,
love it.
That's
I
high
just love
praise.
It. Yeah.
I
just love it.
What's your favorite track on the album?
I actually think it's still Bronx Boy.
Wow.
For me, it's so different compared to the other stuff Ace has released. So for some reason, I can't really say why, but I just love that track. And when they played it live on the cruise, it was like, wow. It really stood out in the live set also, I think. So
it worked.
Was amazing.
It worked fantastically live, as did Rockin' with the Boys, which surprised me how well that did. So Ace is making music that does well live. What more can one want from anyone who records music?
No, it was just fantastic. Number 8, it's hearing Sword and Stone live on the cruise. that was just so damned amazing. It's like I'm probably one of the few that isn't ecstatic about the Bruce and Bob shows on the cruise, but it's like actually just hearing Sword and Stone, it was like, wow, that song would have been so great on an album.
Mm-hmm. And you don't get much deeper a cut than that. I mean, did anyone think that he was going to pull out an unreleased Kiss, basically abandoned Kiss song? No, we thought he might go deep into his catalog, and I wasn't expecting him to dig down into the basement there.
Oh, I agree. And what I really like about about Bruce and his band, he makes Kiss songs that I actually think are quite crap sound good.
Yeah. I think he's lucky that he's able to, wash off a lot of the polish that went onto those songs in the 1980s and correct maybe some of the little faults that we, as fans, he listens, he reads, he knows what we like and what we don't like and why we don't like. I mean, he's probably seen 100 podcasts talking about Crazy Nights and the songs being good songs, but being too polished and having no edge. So he goes in and does them live and he says, we're going to do them the way the fans want to hear them.
Yeah, it's like when you make a song like you make Me Rock Hard sound good, then it's something stranger. I was tapping my feet, and I usually hate that song, so it's like, who knows why. Then on 7, I have Dark Light with Ace on the cruise. That hearing that for the first time live, I was in heaven.
Yep, agreed.
Number 6 for me was the Vault experience on the cruise. A different Vault experience, and it was cool seeing Gene so casual, but in one way, if I'd paid for it, I went as a guest on that one, so I'm really glad I experienced another one. But it was real nice, and Gene's always cool to meet. And number 5, I have the indoor show at the Kiss Cruise.
Yes.
And I'm really, really happy I went to the second show. Because
you knew what to expect by then?
No, but it's like seeing. I knew what I was going to get, so it was easier to take no rare cuts and stuff like that. And especially the place I had, I'm in the pit and right in the front of Gene, so it's like they could really play whatever, and it would be cool anyway.
And you got your photo, didn't you? With his foot.
Yeah, and I got the one Vega took from the side also. That's
right.
Where I'm pointing at Gene. That was really cool. I really wanted one like that. I have a lot of pictures of me in the pit, but not that good. So it's like, but that was really cool.
I have regrets over that second show because I was in at the beginning of the show and I could have gone down into the pit to do photographs because I had the media pass, but I was polite and I decided I didn't want to interfere with those people who've got the seniority that gets them into the pit. So I stayed up in the back to do my photos, and then I got thrown out after 3 songs. So
you should have gone down.
If I should have been a jackass and gone down and been annoying and gone in the pit, and maybe I wouldn't have got chucked out after 3 songs. But you know what? I still got 3 songs and I got to take photos. So, it was still a fun. And I think right at the end of that was where they did the one change in sequence in the set list. So that was neat. Let's get back to you. This is not about me.
And number 4, doing the pole guitar thing with you on the cruise.
That was fun.
That was really fun.
Incredible. I mean, number 1, getting your thing signed, but you talk again. Sorry.
Yeah. Just you asking me, and it's like when somebody asks you just like that, and you don't pay for it, and it means a lot. So it's the experience doing it together really more than meeting Paul again. I've met Paul before, so it's like, but it was really, really cool.
The Q&A was fantastic. That for me that was actually worth the price of admission, just because Paul was so relaxed. He answered a lot of really good questions in a very, very open way. And as I will probably never buy another high-end thing like that, but I don't want to go to one of these alone. And when I think about all the great book covers that you've done for me, you were just, who am I going to take with me or ask? It was easy. So I'm glad you enjoyed.
I was really happy. Number 3, the Vault experience in Oslo. That was amazing. And the songs and stories Gene did there was really great. So I really, in one way, I feel sorry for the people who didn't experience that on the cruise. So
it was a fun segment of the Vault experience, and I mean, I went to 2 Vaults, one as a guest, one as a purchaser, and I enjoyed it. Well, obviously the songs and stories at the second one had Paul Stanley as special guest, so it's hard not to enjoy it again when you've heard the same stories. But I was still watching all the videos on YouTube of people's songs and stories while he was doing them, and you saw how he would do some of the same stories, but there was always a chance that someone was going to ask him something from the audience and he would go in a slightly different way. So even though the basics were very similar between them, there was still enough fan interaction where you did have something different and unique on all of them. And that's what I think people certainly did miss on the cruise, because he could have just performed his usual, but there would have been a question that maybe would have had him remember something, and you didn't get the chance on the cruise to maybe experience something unique.
Yeah, and on the cruise, it's like it could have been a lot better on the cruise if the questions had been better. I think there were some people there derailing the whole thing. Like, one, I'm not going to say what it talked about, but it's like he went on and on and on about one thing that probably didn't interest anybody else but him and the whole audience, and that stuff they really should stop. It's like when one person get 10 minutes alone, then it's bad. And okay, and on number 2, the Gene solo band show in Stockholm. That was so damn amazing. and Gröna Lund, the place, it's like the atmosphere there. It's so incredible. You really have to be there to understand it. But it's like, it was really, really special.
It's one of the very best DVDs. For if Gene's band never plays again with Gene, that is probably going to be one of the defining videos, because it's just an incredible performance, plus mocking the stage guy, and having the kid come up and drum. But the performance of the songs and the selection of songs is just absolutely fantastic. And it's at a legendary venue, because, of course, they played there in 1976 with KISS, and it was packed. It looked like a really good-sized audience for a Gene show, because of everything that was going on. So you're lucky to have been a part of that.
But it's like, it was a great day. The weather was incredible, and it's like the light was just right, and you had all the rides going around you and stuff like that. Just incredible.
And a crazy audience.
Yeah, Scandinavian audience. I've been to a lot crazier concerts than that in Scandinavia. It's like we have generals. We don't have seatings at concerts like in the States, so it's like it's usually pretty wild in front of the stages.
Yes, I'm just comparing to my experience at the Gene Simmons Band in Canada, where everyone was so very nice and polite.
And number one, it's actually meeting people in, especially in Atlanta.
Oh yes.
That the first night in Atlanta, it was okay. It was cool seeing Vinny and stuff, but meeting people was the coolest thing. The evening we had down there in the restaurant was. Or what is it? Was it a restaurant? I'm not really sure, but where they served food anyway. That was just incredible.
That first night dinner was absolutely insane. If you think about who just like randomly appeared at this table. I know that some of us had plans to get a big table, and then it was just see who shows up. And that was the first time I met you. The first time I met Roger Bernard. Who else was? Arjen was there.
Ivan was there, and
it was insane, but it was just so relaxed and wonderful. It's like all of these people kind of meeting for the first time just reinforce that we've known each other a long, long time on the internet. But meeting in person, it's just like a continuation of, well, it's like I saw you last week, and, here we are again. It was so relaxed, but it was also so special because it was that moment. And the service that night was actually good. It was downhill at that place after that.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. And you turn around and there's, Derek having dinner with Eddie Trunk, I think it was what was going on last night. And then other people come in and you're like, hey, I know that person. Hey, I know that person. Oh, have another beer. So
yeah, and what made that even better than meeting people on the cruise? They, as you said, it was so relaxing.
Yeah, there was no rush to get anywhere. There was no Kisses performing, then Bruce, then Ace, then I got to go buy this, I got to go get this. There was none of that. It was just, I've arrived, I'm relaxing now with friends, and there's no demands on my time. We know everything's happening. Yeah, it was just an incredibly special evening. And again, I think if I do my top 10, it's going to be the people. Is going to be what it's all been about in 2018, because again, meeting you for the first time in person, when you've known people online, it still comes back to that handshake and having a drink together in person. It makes it real.
Yeah. So that was my, and you wanted some Koal also?
I am going to ask you, we've got to touch on the one thing this year that you didn't enjoy or didn't meet your expectations. And if you don't have one, even better. But if you do...
I actually have one for this year and in one way, one that goes out into next year. The first one is actually... Vinny not meeting my expectations this year at all. I think that started really cool, and it seems like to go out with a whimper.
It's been a theme that it's been disappointing after all that hype, and Atlanta, almost immediately Atlanta was kind of negative. I mean, especially for the people who were stuck in lines. But what for you made it, not meet expectations?
For me, I thought the way he did things in Atlanta was really great, but it's like suddenly when the vault thing with Gene, it was like cringeworthy in one way. It's like, please, Vinny, it's like it's to hello Gene, and after that the stuff has just gone downhill. It's like the coolest thing he's managed to do, except meeting people this year, are fleece blankets.
Yeah.
It's like, at least release some of your music. I understand if you can't release Kiss-related demos and stuff, but his own music, he should concentrate on that.
Yeah. Instead,
because
he's built nothing really on the exposure that he has had and some of the negative exposure. I hope that in 2019 he's able to turn this around, but I don't have great expectations. I've met him, twice, in Atlanta without makeup and then in Miami with makeup. So, I really don't see myself going out of my way to meet him again, especially after being burned on the performance in Memphis. So, maybe the performance in Nashville now will go off well for him. But I wonder how many people are going to travel from all over the world for that now.
Not that many, I think. The second thing is, like, I'm a little pissed about the meet and greet packages they put out now. It feels a lot with Kiss now that it's cheaper, but and I understand why they dropped the acoustic set. That I have no problem with that, but it's like no autographs. That's. It's like we both have. I've paid for a meet and greet in Oslo because I want a picture with new costumes. So I know what to expect, but it pisses me a little bit off. But because it's a little the same as a cruise, it's like you pay about the same amount and you get less for the money in one way.
It is. And I know that I've been somewhat negative about, people getting autographs. And, when I've been at meet and greets, I've always seen people just trying to get too many things signed, even though there are limits. Now, I know there are people who only ever bring the right amount, but it just seems that they're just making this as quick and easy an assembly line as possible. And I don't get collectibles signed anymore. I only get photographs signed. Stuff that basically has me in it. So I'm a little disappointed on that too. But again, as long as I get my photo of them in the new costumes, then I'll just have to accept that is that. And, at least I'll have that.
I feel the same way. And actually the only thing I need an autograph for anymore is I need 1/8 autograph. So then I'm fine. But especially for people who haven't done the meet and greet before, then it's crappy. It's like you could at least, you take away the acoustic set, that's fine, but let people have 2 autographs each or something like that.
They might just be expecting there to be so many people wanting to do these meet and greets for the photographs that it is strictly down to a time thing. Or it may just be that we're sick of policing Kiss fans who abuse us every tour, so we're getting rid of it.
It could.
And it's also the way that other bands have gone. As I mentioned on a previous episode, I did the Def Leppard meet and greet, and they just handed you it's a pretty cruddy photo of them standing on some random stage that they've signed, but again, then at least it's a photo, and I do have a photo of myself with the band. So, there's pluses or minuses to the business side and how they're thinking about it. And at this stage of the game, I think they want it as easy as they can have it for this tour, which is probably a good thing because, again, they do have a long road ahead of them, even on the end of the road. I still need a photo of Tommy Thayer out of makeup with me that I can get. That's the last thing I need in my personal kind of experience. I mean, I don't see that happening, but there you go. That's the last thing I want, so I don't care about getting anything signed at the meet and greet. Or yeah, I do, because there's some photos from the cruise. The photo with Paul would have been great to get that signed, but ain't gonna happen. That's fine. I'll live with it.
Oh.
All right, so I've got.
Okay.
I want to finish this on a positive note. What are you most looking forward to in 2019, next year? What's really going to float your boat that you know about now?
The European tour, seeing a couple of shows. That's actually and the meet and greet. So it will be the Tons of Rock show in Oslo, and that's really cool because it's about 15 minutes car ride for me. So it's like it will be chill. So I'll just hope the weather will be nice. So
excellent. You're gonna do Kiss Cruise 9?
Right now, I don't think so. I think I guess I'll be on Kiss Cruise 10, I guess.
Yep. A lot of things to decide about. Well, Nils, thank you so much for joining us to give us your top kisses of 2018. Have a happy holidays, and I hope to see you in person next year if the opportunity arises.
I hope so, at least in the year after.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
See you.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.